This is going to be my first Deafheaven album. It is Lonely People with Power. I see so many people talking about this online, and just like how I see people talking about Sunbather all the time too. And Sunbather has always been an album that I've always wanted to hear because it doesn't look like a black metal band's album art. Now, Deafheaven is black metal and black gaze. Like, I've heard some songs here and there, but if you know me and if you know the channel well enough, I cannot get into black metal for the life of me. You know, I really am open-minded to all genres of music, and with subgenres of metal, obviously I cover a lot of metalcore, deathcore, like progressive metal. But I also love like tech death metal too. When it comes to black metal, I just have a hard time getting into the vocal styling a little bit. And also doom metal is just another subgenre that I can't get into. But look, I do like black metal here and there sprinkled, but a whole album of it? Let's find out. I really, really want to change my opinion. I really want to get into this genre of music, and that is exactly why I'm doing this video, because I really want to hear this band. So I hope you're excited, because I am excited to check this out. So look, Deafheaven, Lonely People with Power. That's enough chit chat. I love that dog breed, so I might be biased already. I dig the visualizers. Yeah, hot California. Oh, we're gonna go thrash now? Vocals are still taking some time for me to warm up to, but man, I listen to like Cookie, like monster kind of like vocals too, so like it's entirely subjective. I want to warm up to it. Okay, I am taking it. I'm trying to take it in. Magnolia, okay. Oh, I love it when they hit these grooves. Moves like this hit so much harder after like relentless like blast beats and double kicks. I'm just taking it all in rather than just spewing a bunch of gibberish right now. But I am warming up to it. I don't know if I could do 12 songs, but I love the instrumentals. The vocals, I am warming up to it though. I understand that it depicts like pain and anguish, and it's like you're not supposed to pick apart the words. I understand the appeal to black metal. It just doesn't click with me. But same with Dillinger Escape Plan back in the day, and then they're like one of my favorite bands now. And they're like one of the craziest bands. What I love is like the amount of like post metal in this. But I guess black metal and post metal do share a lot of similar ideas. Heathen. I really like the visualizers. I have a lot to say already, but I have to just listen. There's the cleans, the black gaze. Always sound weird when you say it. That's a good transition. I like the use of cleans. I know that their last record and the record before that had a lot of cleans. I wonder if they're going to bring it back, but they really only used a little bit of it there. I think it's clicking. I think it's clicking. Holy, I have to add that to my playlist.
Desperate.
Funker. The instruments remind me of 100 when they incorporated shoegaze into their music.
The sorrow, my tensing and terror,
said baby, and the way she said baby.
Well, that was beautiful. I don't know how else to explain it. It's different when you listen to something that feels like a product and something that really feels like art, something that's pushing the boundaries and doing something unconventional but filled with so much genuine, authentic passion. When the music is written in a way that feels like it's in a flow state and the listener can actually be captured by that flow state and it's like part of that flow state. It really feels like you're in synchronization with the music and the feelings that it's trying to convey. Where you can look at something that's almost like a product, something that's meant for the radio or something that's a little bit more trying to follow trends. It's fun. It has that short-term appeal, but something like this has long-term appeal. And judging by what I'm saying already, yeah, you can tell that I like this, and that is so incredibly shocking to me. Like I mentioned at the beginning of this album reaction, black metal is a subgenre that I can't get into, but I understand. Don't get me wrong, I understand the appeal of black metal. I really do my best to be open-minded to all the genres that I hear. And it could be because the way I grew up, I had an older brother that's into punk, another one that's into metal. My dad's into like prog rock, and my mom's into pop rock or other things. And then I got into EDM. Like my music taste from my entire family and how I grew up was everywhere. And because of it, it led me to adapt to different genres. And so with black metal, I just couldn't get into it. But the appeal was there. I understand the sense's atmosphere, and it almost rejects the mainstream. And it's like, and I know a lot of the themes are kind of like anti-religious, and it's for people who are like trying to seek like an alternative kind of like view in the world. there's a certain like rawness and extremism that comes with black metal. So don't get me wrong, like I totally understand the appeal to it. It just never clicked. It never connected with me. But I always wanted to get into it because why can't I enjoy bands like the Dillinger Escape Plan, which are just so chaotic and so aggressive and just screaming non-stop, but it's also like mathy. It's just like it's so unconventional to mainstream music. So I knew I just needed to hear something that would properly get me into the genre, and this is that album. This is that album. Deafheaven could have been that band. You know, I've heard some Deafheaven songs in the past, and I do like the shoegaze elements that they incorporate, and that's probably one of the biggest strengths about this record is that it's not just black metal for me. And it's not just black metal in general, but like I think that's what helped me get into this record. It might be a good accessible record for people who aren't into black metal like myself, but it incorporates post metal, and I absolutely love post metal. Like I like some Alcest. I like ISIS. Always weird to say their name, but like Russian Circles, like there's bands that I'm familiar with. I guess I do like a lot of post rock, like Sigur Rós and Explosions in the Sky too. But it also incorporates so much shoegaze that I absolutely adore about this. I feel like from what I've heard from this band, this is like a culmination of all their records. And this album, how it clicks for me is when it puts you in that trance state. And that's exactly what black metal does so well. But it never clicked until now. And it's because of that song, Amatheus. I believe that's the song title. But that song just... something about the flow of that song was so organic that you were just following along the journey. I felt like none of the moments overstayed their welcome with just constant blast beats or a constant like thrashy riff or like a clean section that was just like soft and got a little too dull or something. They just knew how to transition from every song or from every section really well. And that could help because of my ADD brain, TikTok brain rot brain that I might have from all the shorts that I make and all the content that I consume. But the strength here is how organic this album is. A lot of black metal really stays into one section for too long, and this album was not like that at all. Instead, it knew exactly what to do every single time. It also knew how to shock the listener. There's a couple times where I like jumped from a certain section that I didn't expect, but the twists and turns, the peaks and valleys of just going from heavy to light and just the grooves to blast beats were all done in such an organic way. The transitions, the flow are flawless on this record. Vocals are mixed so well. And speaking of the vocals, which is the hardest selling point for me, there was a lot of times on this record where I felt the pain and the anguish and the despair and the sadness around it. It was beautiful and cathartic, and it's almost hard not to cry to this album at certain moments. It's just so beautiful and bleak, but somewhat powerful in a way too. There's like a sense of hope, and it could be because of the chord progressions that they're using. It has like an uplifting nature to it while the vocals are like cathartic and in pain. I am genuinely shocked how much I like this record because I understand the appeal to this band, and you know there could be other records in the past, like maybe Blood Incantation, which came out recently too, but that record was getting so much hype in the underground scene, and I understood the appeal. It's like Pink Floyd death metal, very proggy, but I guess maybe Between the Buried Me is a band that always scratched that itch. But the point is, I know the fans who like this kind of music and the other albums that they enjoy too, and some of them click with me and some of them don't, but this one is the biggest shock for how much it clicked with me and how much I just totally understood and felt the feelings that the music is trying to convey onto the listener. One other thing that I absolutely love about this record, and just like Deafheaven in general, is like the visuals don't really capture what typical black metal is. And that is one of my favorite things about this, is that black metal to me, the visuals can be a little bit corny. It's always these tall forests with fog and, you know, the makeup. I can't get into that. but I understand that people have found a way to be against the norms and be unconventional. I understand. It's just, I can't get into black metal because of the visual element as well. But here, the late 80s, early 90s California look that is warm and looks like it's like an A24 film or something. And even like Sunbather, the album art is not the typical gothic, tall trees, satanic kind of imagery. I love bands that push the norms of what their box is and step outside that box and says, no, it's okay to have visuals like this. It's okay to have a logo that you can actually read, right? And not just look at like a bunch of tree branches. That's something I love about Deafheaven. But the music though matches the outside the box kind of conventions, but truly created like a magnificent piece of art. Like, I'm so shocked how much I like this record. Now, is it something I can listen to all the time? To be honest, not so much, because it is a quite dark album. It's heavy. It's a heavy record, not in terms like, you know, brutal heavy, but in terms of like the depth and the emotions, it's heavy. And with my personal lifestyle and how I control my emotions, it's hard for me to really get into that mindset. But for the right time and place for me, I'm definitely going to spin this record again. Just not all the time. It's select special times. But anyway, I'm going to rate this 9 out of 10. This is truly shocking that I actually enjoyed a subgenre that I've always had the hardest time getting into, and that is just a unmatched experience, and because of it, I have to give it a high rating. I'm curious to know what your thoughts are, so comment down below. Spice up my life, guys. Thank you for watching. I'm curious to know if I should check out other Deafheaven records. I'm sure there's going to be comments about that. If you're on the Patreon, because I'm going to be uploading this to YouTube as like a montage reel, then feel free to check out all the other album reactions and reviews. There's not a lot of black metal, but you know, we have thousands upon thousands of hours of content only on Patreon. So feel free to give those a watch. Check the About Me section. Feel free to join the Discord if you want to chat with me and others. Lots of Deafheaven fans in there. They were actually part of the reason what made me check out this record too. So feel free to do that. But thank you for supporting me on Patreon if you're on Patreon. But if on YouTube, thanks for watching. I appreciate you too. But on that, thank you for tuning in. Till next time. Peace.